I, like many of you, have made it no secret of our disdain for Bobby Kotick, Activision, and everything that's been going on with that company over, honestly, the last 15 years, as all the allegations have come to light and more information continues to come and fall upon the public. Now, I also am a man of context. I believe in providing you guys all as much detail as humanly possible, because obviously everything just in this life isn't as black and white as it seems. However we feel, note that a part of this video is going to be diving into a recent Washington Post article that goes into what is happening specifically, and I'm going to give my commentary on that. That will be coming here in a little bit, but I want to make a statement first and foremost to anybody who honestly just gives a shit. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian, and if you're new around here, I don't often cuss, and I do, for those of you who might be shocked by that, I do apologize. But hopefully that helps put some gravity to the situation in which we're in. I celebrate the fact that Call of Duty's sales are down, because the only real way that any of this crap changes is if money is impacted. And that's actually what we get to dive into today. And that's why I have more hope than ever before that actual gamers could institute change, because they actually give a shit. Bravo to each and every one of you who decided to rip the band-aid off and step over the line and say, I'm not going to support you guys until you actually do something about it. Now, again, I'm a man of context. There's information here that certain things happened maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I do want to make sure that from a fairness perspective, that I'm not bandwagoning myself onto kind of a hate rage monster here. But I've been on that train, that side of the line, for a long time, and I've made no secret of that. And I also, being that I crossed over that line a long time ago and have not supported the company Activision Blizzard, I have to say that it brings me a lot of hope that more and more people are at least holding off on their money. When you go look at the Activision stock alone, it's lost over 50% of its value, half of its value this year. Bravo. Because if you want to affect change, you have to suffer a little bit. You got to suffer with those who have suffered. You have to suffer with those who have suffered. There's a lot that we don't know. You know, one of the things that I definitely want to make sure that I'm very clear on is that I believe that people can change. I believe that, and we want people to change. I am not pro cancel culture. I think there are systems in place that are important systems to have in place. I think that protects both the accuser and the accusee. And that's something that we should try not to get over, jump too far ahead of the situation. So I do want to say that I will always champion repentance and obviously correction in a public square, like we are here on YouTube and the internet. That all comes, that all gets questioned. It gets questioned, motives gets questioned, because ultimately we can't truly know a person's intentions when it comes down to their actions. But yesterday's news that was breaking, people were, asking me in Discord if I should comment on it. Like, hey, Brian, would you talk about this? And I decided to make a different kind of video, one that I actually had been working on. And honestly, I thought that was a really good statement. But we got more news today, and that's what we want to spend a little bit of time with this video on, because I think it's important. Because I think it's important because when we as a gaming culture, we as the greater gaming community, just sit behind our keyboards and complain, but yet continue to spend money, ultimately, it's pointless. Your negative Reddit post means nothing compared to the $60 a year you throw towards the company you're mad at, correct? Right? We can all agree with that. I've also seen that within gaming community and culture, it's very difficult to leave these service-based games because there's community built around them. And I think that in a part isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like on the surface, when you look at, certain things on paper, that is a good thing. Community is a good thing. But obviously in the hands and unchecked, power, money, etc., that becomes a greater conversation to be had. Because then you end up having and creating, instead of a community that supports each other, it's almost like we've created these communities of addicts. And let's just be fair to gaming. It's wonderful, right? But there's also the sense of addiction that we can all get if we're not careful. Anyway, that's kind of my statement. I do want to spend time with this Washington Post article because this is really fascinating. Because it gives me a lot of hope. Because I hope that as a culture, as a community, we can start to develop the tools and the language so that we speak the language that people understand. And it's, you do wrong, you support bad, we're just going to own you. And not in the sense of just a boycott. One of the things I've talked about previously this year alone is that if gamers really want to affect change, they need to buy stock and they need to go vote, because that's how real change happens. And that's what we're getting, at least a bit of hope today. This is coming from the Washington Post. I'm going to include a link in the description, guys. You can go read this for yourself. I always encourage you to do so, whether you like them or not. Like, this is just, here's the information. You know, if you don't like Washington Post, that's fine, but here's the information. A day after Activision Blizzard employees staged a walkout and called for the resignation of CEO Bobby Kotick and several other executives, a group of Activision Blizzard shareholders with a total of 4.8 million shares. I don't think that, I mean, that sounds like a lot, like on paper, but ultimately with everything that's doled out, I don't know if that's a great majority. However, it's not insignificant. Similarly asked for the company's CEO resignation in a letter to the company's board of directors. That's how you get this stuff done. The walkout in the letter of the shareholders follows a Wall Street Journal article that report that Kotick was aware of sexual misconduct allegations, and the firm did not inform his board of directors. That's actually the issue. Now, regarding allegations, right? Like, that's a kind of a key aspect. I'm not going to sit here and be a court of public opinion on that article. I'm not a legal expert. I direct you to Hogue Law. Maybe we'll get him on a future podcast. We've had him before. Awesome guy. And that's just kind of where I don't want to sit here and turn this video into, I'm not a lawyer, but this is my legal opinion. That's not what we do here. In contrast to past company statements, CEO Bobby Kotick was aware of many incidents of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and gender discrimination in Activision Blizzard, but failed either to ensure that the executives and managers responsible were terminated or to recognize and address the systemic nature of the company's hostile workplace culture. The shareholders, led by Strategic Organization Center (SOC) investment group, wrote a joint letter addressed to the company's board of directors and shared with the Washington Post. This is really important. In addition to asking Kotick to resign, the group of shareholders had called on the board's two longest serving directors, Brian Kelly and Robert Margano, to retire by December 31st. Kelly is chairman of the Activision Blizzard Board of Directors, and Monagero serves as lead independent director. The Activision Blizzard Board of Directors responsible for the journal's article today, saying it remains confident in Bobby Kotick's leadership. We need more pressure. We need more pressure. We need more pressure. That's what we need. Shareholders have said on a letter of Kotick, Kelly, and Morgan don't step down that they would vote for a re-election of the current directors on the board and the next annual shareholder meeting in June, and it would urge other shareholders to follow. The SOC chose to call for Kelly and this guy, I can't say his name, resignation, as they were the two longest standing members of the board. It told the Post that Kelly serving since 1995 and Martigano since 1997. Money, and this is the thing that's true, it just, you know, like, hey, if you're making money, like, don't rock the boat. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't report. When we look at the core aspects, like, I was talking with somebody the other day, like, well, if all these women are getting harassed, why aren't they reporting? It's like, it's not that easy. Like, especially when just outside of the gender issue alone, like, there's still a personality issue. There's plenty of guys who get like, you know, harassed. I've been like, I've had, like, as it's weird, but I've been racistly discriminated against in my life. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, woe is me, because there's real problems with that in the world. But it's just like, I was really kind of shocked by it, you know, when it happened. And I was like, okay, like, even my dad had it happen to him in different contexts. So things and crazier things have happened in the world. It's just nuts. Anyway, being that they've served so long, yeah, get them out of there. Let's get some new blood in there. Let's get some new heart into the company. They are a money-making machine, especially with King and Candy Crush. If you know somebody who plays Candy Crush, like, don't bully them. Like, so here's how we make change. Don't bully them, but continue to invite them into a better way. The less money these companies make, they're gonna make changes. That share price keeps falling. It's already by 50%. More of the shareholders are gonna take action, and then essentially that's where you see Bobby finally getting ousted. After the new revelations, it's clear the current leadership repeatedly failed to uphold a safe workplace, a basic function of their job. SOC's executive director, Dieter Watzenberg, said in an interview, Activision Blizzard needs a new CEO, board chair, and independent director with the expertise, skill set, and conviction to truly change the company's culture. We really need to have a reset button on the board. If that price falls too low, I could easily see, and I said this in another video, you should really check that out if you haven't seen it already. I think it's, people seem to really like it. I'm very pleased with it. It's more of the editorial, kind of edit. Anyway, I'm not want to promote my own videos too much on this channel. Anyway, I think essentially it falls too low that you could even see them just getting scooped up, and there's a lot of buyers out there. They have a lot of IP. You're telling me Microsoft, you're telling me Sony, you're telling me, heck, even Tencent wouldn't want this company? That's also a risk, guys. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Watson-Negger said that an SOC would like to see Kelly and Margaret Galula replaced with diverse directors, and at least one of those sets to go to an Activision Blizzard employee that is not an executive. We've seen actually that kind of work in Germany. Now, it's not necessarily going to be like always work, but essentially putting an employee on the board, having a voice of the employees, I'm definitely for. I think essentially that level of representation can help. It can hurt businesses overall. Like it's not a black and white scenario. Again, lots of gray area here when it comes down to it, but geez Louise. The letter was also signed by Australian retail fund Future Super, Canada's groups NIE Investments and Shareholders Association of Research and Education, SHARE, and the Australian Fund for Women, Superverb. Superverb did not return inquiries about how many Activision Blizzard shares it owns. The Washington, D.C.-based SOC investment group communicates with companies on behalf of the union pension funds, and in this case, those funds own about 3.8 million shares in Activision Blizzard. A small fraction of the firm's total shares, roughly 779 million. Yeah, so there we go. So now we have the context of 3.8, 4.8 to 778 million. So this is not, like, it's a very small amount. These shareholders are dwarfed in the company's top investors. Investment management company Vanguard holds over 64 million shares, and BlackRock holds 58 million. New fights every day of the life. NIE Investments said that it decreased the number of shares and managers after the company was sued in July by a California state agency alleging sexual harassment, gender-based harassment, and pay inequitably in the workplace. That's going to be continuing on. We're going to just keep moving because essentially we got a little bit more of the article to go. We have maternally reduced our exposure to Activision since the story broke this summer, and now have a remnant position of the two funds for a collective position of less than 100,000 shares. But the exposure allows us to demand change through enough of these type of coalitions. Shares does not hold any shares of the Activision Blizzard, but said they signed a letter because the investment service is concerned about the developing story at Activision Blizzard and have been working with the other investors and investor representations to prod reform. A statement from Future Super said that it discussed with the Communication Workers of America, the major media labor union, and how to best support Activision Blizzard workers, and decided to sign the SOC letter. On Tuesday, over 110 employees walked out in protest at the Irvine, California campus of major Activision Blizzard subsidiary, Blizzard Entertainment, after Kotick dismissed the Wall Street Journal report as misleading in a video message distributed to employees. It was a second employee walkout the company has seen in the past 4 months following a July lawsuit from the California state agency. The SOC Investment Group, which represents a coalition of the U.S. labor unions, has a track record of calling for executive compensation reform in 2021, and the group campaigned against heavy bonuses for executives at both Activision Blizzard and Electronic Arts. The organized labor has been keenly interested in Activision Blizzard since the firing of the July suit. In October, the group of Activision Blizzard employees asked Kotick to voluntarily recognize a union at the company. Activision Blizzard, like most American video game publishers and developers, is not unionized. So you can see a better ABK tweet now. Bobby Kotick, given your visible stance on bettering ABK and working conditions within the benefit of your employees, are you prepared to voluntarily recognize union formed by these workers so that they can hold you accountable to your commitments? Over the past several months, Activision Blizzard has come under fire for many directors. In addition to the lawsuit from California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, it also is under investigation by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and has been sued in the August class action suit from shareholders alleging violations in security laws. The SOC Investment Group is not part of that class action lawsuit from shareholders. Additionally, there is an unfair labor practice complaint against the company filed by Workers and Communications Workers of America. Votes against directors are very rare. Investors rarely take this step. You will need to have a clear governance failure, Watson-Zinger said. And now we believe we can point to not only an overpaid CEO. That seems a like I guess that's obviously the general perception. However, like as somebody whose dad was a CEO at some point and was always paid last, like I have a hard time basing that. We have a lot of problems obviously with how like maybe this is structured, and a lot of that quote unquote overpaid is stock grants and bonuses for him driving up the value of the company. One of the things that he has done, like I said, I always want to try and make sure that I'm, equitable in my critiques and equitable in my opinions, but you can clearly see that Bobby Kotick has driven up a lot of value in the company, which based off his reward structure, which is set by the board, that's essentially his payout. Whether you consider it overpaid, like it's way more money than I've ever seen or heard of in my life. And as somebody who would at some point would like to have enough money to retire, like, yeah, it'd be cool to have one of those days, but I haven't driven up the value of any kind of company stock that much that I'm aware of. And so like, I think overpaid it's a little bit reaching. It really, it placates the worker. It just, I don't know. Anyway, that's just my take, because it's at the end of the day that's set by the board. Sure, I'd like to have the employees paid more, and I think again the shareholders and the board are the more people responsible. So the fact that they're like asking for more, the board to step down, I think is important. Anyway, but we have a very clear implications of recruiting talent at the company. Yep, that's a fact. People are less likely to want to go work there. Potential legal ramifications with regulators like California and the Securities Exchange Commission, and that's an indication that something went very, very wrong. So, guys, that's the news, that's the article, that's the detail, and obviously you got a lot of my opinion up front. So this is kind of a hybrid news and opinion post in this regards. I am, like I said, at the end of the day, the best way we can actually affect change is to stop supporting them financially, drying up those wells, drying up those daily active user numbers. That is what people are watching, and that's what's going to continue to bring out change. There's a risk, I'm not going to lie. Like, who knows what's going to ultimately end up shaking out from it, but I would invite you, if you're still an Activision Blizzard fan and still playing their games, to step across the line at least for a little bit. Add your, pausing, your slowdown to a growing group of basically adding your voice to the list of pressure to say, let's see some change. I think overall it could work out, good for everybody. Again, like I said in my last video, the people who ultimately probably will suffer the most are the regular people who are just trying to work there and have a job. And I've seen people try to justify that. I'm not hating on you for your justification, but I would like to invite you across this line with us for a little while. Not saying you can't go back, but there's better ways to support them directly. And maybe that's something you can organize, like a GoFundMe for the team, especially if they get laid off. Anyway, guys, obviously the future's in your hands. I invite you to join us. I invite you to, obviously participate in it as best as you can. But regardless, at the end of the day, there's also really other awesome games to play. So hopefully you find them. And if I can help out in any way, let me know. That's going to wrap it up. Sorry, I know you probably heard some of the kids crying and screaming and playing and roughhousing in the background. That's just the nature of being a dad of 5 and a fan of video games and the information surrounding them. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Hopefully you have a great day. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video, and it will hopefully be way more positive than this one. But until then, take care.
Friendly, fun, and optimistic community, baby. Coming from an MMO community filled with toxicity, this is an amazing breath of fresh air. Keep it up, baby. Oh, yeah. I just want to say I'm really glad you're feeling